had a big reality show in LA. Another thing, we were shooting with the RE tungsten lights, and they get hot. So we're in this guy's like $10 million mansion. I told my gaffers like, hey, I really want a nice like 650 watt hair light from back in the corner. Just so happened that that corner had a sprinkler. So it was close to the sprinkler and it set off the water in his whole mansion. Oh my God, it was stressful.
Today, we're speaking with Derek Hope, the founder and executive director of High Arc Media, a video marketing agency based in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, he is the director, DP, executive producer of his projects, and he also structures marketing strategies for his clients. You heard him talk about an incident on set at a show he was directing recently. Ouch. But haven't we all had moments, more or less, like that in our lifetimes in this business? On the podcast today, he talks about that and the value of partnerships, not just with his clients, but with contractors and freelancers who helped him scale his production business. And like all of our guests here on Video MBA, he has some great tips on growing your video production company. And so, without further ado, I bring you Derek Pope. I'm here with Derek Pope. Derek, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, Paul. How's it going?
Very good, very good. So how's business? How is High Arc Media doing so far this year?
Man, we are blessed to actually be doing well. It was a little shaky to start the year, I'm not gonna lie. Between the bank failures, economy, I think, being in this corporate space, there's a lot of speculation and it was a little quiet. And I think as people realize, one, I have some friends who always say, honestly, when I saw everything about the BRICS currency and everything, I'm like, okay, I'm planning my move out the country, and I'm like, well, I might be moving or trying to go somewhere else. But, a good friend of mine, he mentioned, he's like, hey, man, like the industry that we're in, when times get hard, our companies, our clients need to advertise more. So we'll always have business. And that's how I feel like things really moved. So right now, things are going really well. Yeah, I can't complain. Got a couple of big documentaries, commercials with some pretty big organizations. So
Yeah, that's great. So doing documentaries, doing commercials, that's quite a step from someone who maybe a few years ago was just a startup. Can you sort of summarize a little bit about yourself and your journey and how you got to where you are now?
Yep. Every time I get asked that question, I give all my kudos to my business coaches. So I'm a huge fan of business coaches. When I first started, I was literally, you can't tell from me sitting down, but I'm 6'5", pretty athletic. So I played basketball my whole life. I was just doing highlight videos, different things like that. And I was maybe charging like $250 for like 6 highlight reels or something like that. Terrible. But I had some friends that had nice cameras and I started using it for my own brand and different things I was doing. And I noticed that it was really picking up steam on social media, different things like that. I'm like, okay, hey, I really like when I see these Super Bowl commercials, different things like that. Somebody shooting them. How is that set up? I always knew I had the smarts to, get into business and do my own thing. So I was just on Instagram. I got an ad from a business coach and he's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. This might be you. It resonated. We jumped on a free call and he was so genuine and, it just completely changed my life. It was a 3-month program. I did not have the money at the time. I think it was like somewhere between 3,500, 4,000. I put it on credit, called a couple of lenders, put it all together, took the risk, and I made that money back before the 3 months was even done. So since then, I've had about 4 or 5 business coaches now. So it changed my life for sure.
And you're using the business coaches for developing the business plan, or was it to, use them as a sounding board when it came to looking for clients?
Right. So there were several different coaches, right? So the very first one was anybody can do this for free. It was the local chamber of commerce, and I was just running my business ideas by them. That was one of the first things I heard heard about, and that was really solid. But they were very general. He was able to, kind of see what I was talking about and give me general advice on like just best general business practices. But me understanding I needed somebody in production who's made the mistakes, who knows exactly where to find the people. So that first coach showed me how to, first off, the biggest thing, he's like, we're not doing anything under 1,500. That was a few years back. Now I don't do anything under like 5 or 10, but his first thing was like, we're going to start charging more. We're going to work with corporate clients and, um, just really showing me how to do sales, marketing, how to brand myself. It was one of the toughest times ever, really putting together all these spec commercials and different things. But, I had that as an athlete, I had that grind, that competitiveness to me, and I just took over. And now he jokes with me, like, how'd you pass me? Like you're you're doing things bigger than I've ever done. And I just was hungry for the information. So yeah, I mean, and after that, I worked with a coach who taught me about scaling. So he was like, "Hey, we don't take anybody who's not making six figures, and it's just you need to be at that level to really implement some of the things because you have to pay to play." So he really taught me how to hire people, how to really cater to high end clients, and like I said, I'm just forever grateful. And I actually do business coaching now as well. I've been able to make it to a point where I'm teaching people. I've got several students who got retainer clients. They're doing very well now. So it's been a great journey, to be honest.
So from athlete to video production company owner to business coach. Amazing. Amazing. So how did you get those first initial clients, Derek? Talk to me about,
The
how
business
did you
coaching
find the
clients, or
resources? No, I'm sorry, the video production coaches. Or sorry, the video production clients.
yeah. So it's funny, it's funny how times change. But at the time, that coach was telling me about this software called Thumbtack, and Thumbtack is a platform where it's kind of like, kind of like your Upwork, your Fiverr, but more so in the service-based industry where it's like really face to face. They got some digital things, but you can list as photography services, videography, and between okay, biggest things with my coach is saying like, hey, all you have is these little basketball highlights and just some guys running around the court. That's not going to attract the clients that you need. So he really worked with me on going and shooting spec commercials that look like the work of the clients that I wanted to work with. So I had to like rent out locations, rent out better camera gear, do all these different things to put together video. And it's crazy. I thought I did an amazing job. I thought I did an amazing job. In the first draft I sent him, he's like, nope, not good enough. You got to reshoot it. And I almost broke. But so yeah, just really making sure I had a strong portfolio, and then taking that portfolio, it speaks for itself, and just putting it in front of the right people. So now I never use Thumbtack because it's very kind of small projects, but at the time that was amazing. I was able to make a living off of Thumbtack, to be honest. So that's how I really got those first ones. My
Hmm.
first ever true video production was with a pretty big company called Recruiting Daily. It was a big corporate event. I got there. I was missing a piece to my gimbal. I was freaking out. I ended up having to do these different things. I was shooting by myself, no team, no crew, and it's just funny to see how far you come along. I just recently did a production where we had like a 60-person crew, so it's just you know it's nice to see like the growth and different things like that.
Yeah, definitely. So you started by doing spec spots. So was this before landing that first client that you were just sort of trying to develop a reel or a list of
A-
examples?
Absolutely, and I tell all my students that like we're in the business of creativity, and your work speaks for itself. Obviously you have to have great processes and customer journeys around that and do sales and marketing, but the biggest thing is like, hey, it's a visual product. So how does your product look? So that's the biggest thing. Just like, McDonald's or any food place, it's like, hey, the product isn't going to sell if it doesn't taste good, if it doesn't look good. And it's the same thing. Same thing with us. So you got to work on your product first. Um, so yeah, I started with that, and he was like, hey, you can create your specs. You can use a combination of some of my footage. One thing that I tell people now is and these are some gems that I'm giving away now. But one thing that I tell people now
Okay.
is to you know, first off, you don't want to do all the work yourself. You're going to burn out. So go ahead and start reaching out to contractors who have the type of portfolio in the industries that you want to work in. So, for instance, I really want to work in healthcare. I might reach out to cinematographers, directors, producers in the healthcare industry who, if I'm first starting out, right, who have this portfolio, and I'm saying, hey, I'm really looking to take my production company to the next level. I'll be doing sales and marketing and different things like that. If you don't mind, I would love to put some of your portfolio on my site. And anytime I get a job, I'll make sure to hire you. We can write a contract, different things like that. So that's a quick way to just get the portfolio that you need. And that way you'll be working with multiple people. You have that portfolio. It's a great way to get there quickly. But that product is absolutely necessary. And just like other things, you can do partnerships in production. So yeah, making sure you can partner quickly and get that portfolio that you need, and then shift from there. That's a good way to start.
Amazing. We can get into a little bit more about that in terms of some advice that you might have for newcomers, because it sounds as though you've got quite a you're going to have quite a few. But how do you ensure, Derek, that you and your team is always delivering great work?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I'm a stickler on that. Like, the biggest thing is for me is looking to make partnerships with all my clients, right? So we're not just a production company, we're a video marketing agency. So the biggest thing is like, hey, the video part is easy, but we want to make sure the story is told in a way that's going to create results for you and make you more money so you keep coming back to higher video. So we're always, when what I view as a great piece is a piece that actually achieves the client's goals, articulates to their specific target audience everything that they need to know. So that's number one. I'm always looking to make sure that we do an audit with the client. We want to see what their true goals are. What does it look like? What does success look like when this video is done? And then from there, obviously having like systems and processes of, um, just pre-production. Every phase is important, but pre-production is the most important part. So if that's location scouting, making sure that I'm creating a mood board, a shot list, and I just have that checklist before. So this is the biggest thing. And I told my clients, yes, I'm not the cheapest. We definitely charge a lot more than other companies that you'll be working with, but that comes with experience. You know that we'll have backup cameras. If one camera fails, we'll have other ones. We'll have batteries. Everything's charged. We have a checklist. So really just having those systems in place to make sure before every production that everything's laid out, charged up, ready to go. And the clients are paying for that, but in the end run, like, they see the results and they can make sure that, hey, this production is always going to be 100% success. So yeah, just having those systems in place is like huge.
What sort of road bumps did you come across in the past few years that allowed you to grow to where you are now and perfect some of those systems that you've talked about? Can you describe some of
And
those challenges that you ran into?
man, yep. I'm having PTSD now. I've had several. And they have been. It's funny that some of the biggest roadblocks and road bumps that I've had have been with some of the biggest clients. So I think one of the most, and this was a recent one. We, man, I talked about this on another podcast, but I'll keep it brief. Pretty much, we're shooting with Sony. I'm a huge fan of Sony, and of course, one of the requirements is that we shoot with Sony cameras, and we had two shoots on the same day, and I had to prioritize the bigger shoot, which was one up in New York. It's a huge commercial for a forklift company. And I had one of my smaller crews going out to Tennessee to shoot the Sony commercial, and I I worked with one of my DPs who I don't always work with because my A team was up with me. So Sony, sadly, and I regret this, they got my B team. I didn't go through all the systems with them. So the FX6 was the camera, and it's something about if you try to put it into RAW and have it shoot RAW without sending it to like the Shogun monitor or something like that, it's not actually
Mhm.
recording. It'll say record, but it's not actually recording those files. So they,
Oh no.
Yeah, so Sony only got proxy files, and we tried to upscale it, different things like that, and it just was not working. So, that's one of the things is making sure that the crew that I'm working with has already been briefed because they did make that specific Sony camera requirement, and he hadn't been using those very often. But I was just very confident in his ability. That's a super particular thing to that camera. So just making sure we had briefing. I was spending a lot of time on a bigger project, but just making sure that all my clients get the attention that they need and that the right people are in place. That's definitely a big thing. Those checklists are huge. Like I said, I've been on productions, forgotten pieces to a gimbal or different things like that. So organization, labeling, just those day before preparations definitely help. Man, I've learned back when, I mean, it's still a thing, but I had a big reality show in LA. Another thing, we were shooting with the RE tungsten lights, and they get hot. So we're in this guy's like $10 million mansion. I told my gaffers like, hey, I really want a nice like 650 watt hair light from back in the corner. Just so happened that that corner had a sprinkler. So it was close to the sprinkler and it set off the water in his whole mansion. Oh my God. It was stressful. Luckily I had insurance. It still wasn't, it was a pretty penny, but so yeah, different roadblocks. I think one of the other things too was from an admin operation standpoint is, coming from $250 videos, when I first made six figures, I changed my lifestyle. And I tell everybody, don't change your lifestyle. I was getting so excited. I'm like, hey, I'm paying myself more. I'm doing this, buying this gear, doing all of that. And you quickly realize that these expenses add up quickly and all these projects aren't extremely predictable. We got COVID hitting, which things kind of went to zero. So that was a roadblock to just really understand I need to get really strict on my finances. So that's another thing I tell people, just because you start making more, keep your lifestyle the same if you really want to be able to have the money to invest and keep that business growing. So it's been a lot. It's been growing pains for sure, but it definitely helps you grow up quickly. So I actually am going on 5 years with this production company, and there's people who are 10, 15 years in saying, man, you've made such strides and different things. So just like people say they get thrown into the real world and have to grow up quickly, I threw myself in the fire quickly and had to grow up as a company. So um, yeah, it's been a lot for sure. So
Wow, I had heart pains there listening about the Sony project, and then you hit me up with the sprinkler system going off in the guy's house here. I had to take a deep breath there. I feel you, man. I feel you for that.
man,
Oh my God. Let me ask you this. Getting business in, getting revenue in is one thing. Staying profitable on a consistent basis is another. So how do you stay profitable and keep your eye to the ball like that?
yeah. So that's a super important question. That's where I start with everybody, is having that foundation, right? And in this industry, there's a lot of people who went to film school, not necessarily business school. So they're amazing creatives, but they don't know much about business or finance and structure. So one of the biggest things that I do is, it's very simple, but it's the profit first system. So you want to make sure that you have enough. It depends on if you're with like Navy Federal, you can make accounts at no charge, but a lot of banks charge you a minimum to have your money in there. So if, like, for instance, Chase, we're with Chase, and you have to have a minimum of 2,000 in each account. So if you have 5 accounts, that's at least $10,000. If not, there's like a monthly fee of $15. But what that does is, in this industry, there's a lot of times where if you're a wedding photographer, if you are shooting certain commercials, the client gives you a deposit up front in, let's say, May, and that shoot may not be until August. So a lot of times what I see people doing is they see this money in their account and they're spending it, they're buying gear, they're doing these different things, but they didn't set aside, okay, here's all my crew fees, my location fees. So, that's one of the biggest things, actually being frequently attentive to your finances and making sure, okay, well, I know that here's my expenses. And let me just kind of go through that. I guess the profit first system is, you're going to have those 5 bank accounts. So you have the money coming in as revenue. You have your profit, right, that you're making sure you set aside as profit. That's after all the taxes. And you have an expense account, different things. You have like a holdings account. That's how I set mine up. So as soon as I get
Okay.
money in, we're already segmenting it, right? So all that money is just nice and organized and different things like that. All my expenses, they're covered, and I can actually see my profit daily, so that's a big thing. But other than just like having a structure, it's about like one of my second business coach said this to me, and I kind of took that as a thing. Like, until you get to about $500,000 annually, everything that you should eat, sleep, and breathe sells, right? So you have a lot of people who want to do cool things like, hey, let's just make this creative series, or like go shoot these passion projects, or this and that, just do different things, and they're not completely locked in on their sales and creating predictability. And that's what makes a lot of people struggle. A lot of creatives don't like to do sales, but you know, um, between you constantly reaching out, going to events, finding the platforms that work to post on, reaching out to people, like that has to be a thing. And I just did content on this, but there's different marketing and sales cycles, right? You got your short term and your long term. And a lot of people in the corporate space, we understand it gets cold in the winter. The fiscal year is finishing up. Like between that November to January time period, it gets a little quiet. So really making sure, some of the marketing that you're doing now might not result in quick sales, but you might be building relationships for 30, 60, 90 days down the line, where now you'll have those projects coming up. And uh, I think another thing that really helped is being able to really create the structure to have retainers. Those retainers, like we've had some clients where they'll just pay us $30,000, $40,000 upfront for the year for a set amount of videos. So we have that, or we have the monthly that's coming recurring. So just really being able to piece all of that together is definitely going to help you be able to have that predictability to do different things. So it's super important. Like you got to understand business if you want to be successful. So
What's your revenue pie look like in terms of percentages? So you don't have to tell me numbers, but how much a percentage of your revenue pie is retainers versus, say, one-off projects?
The retainers are something that we're still building. I would say about 25% it goes to retainers. That's something that definitely that I'm actually just sent out scripts to my salespeople now in the offer that we have to bring in more retainers. Um, and so we don't just do video. So on the video side, it's about 25%, but on the marketing side, it's about 75%. So we got social media management, different advertisements that we're doing. So that's another thing that really helped to um, kind of keep that predictability up, is adding in the
Mhm.
marketing piece. And it's kind of an easy switch in the corporate space if you really get passionate about marketing. And a lot of my clients, they're understanding, like, a lot of my questions aren't, yeah, they are like, hey, do you want to shoot this 4K? What camera do you want to use? Different things like that. But it's like, hey, what are your goals? What's the lifetime value of a client? Like, how many new clients are you looking to get? And just different things like that. And then it's an easy transition to say, hey, we do have marketing services. We can not only shoot the video for you, but we can chop it up into small pieces, manage it on your social media, run it as ads, different things like that. So it's kind of complex. We split the two, but on the video side is about 75-20, and then it flips on the marketing side. So that's kind of how that goes. But
How long did it take for you to transition from, or not transition, but to offer this secondary service, the video marketing versus the video production? And can you describe a little bit about what led you to offer that secondary service?
yeah, so I got a little bit ahead of myself. So that first year, oh my god! So that first year, once I learned that my first coach was saying, hey, these clients care about results. Like, the only reason they're hiring you for a video is because they have some result that they want to get, right? So it's not just a nice video. It's either more sales, more awareness, more streams if you're doing music, whatever it might be. Um, so I'm thinking, okay, how can we get results? He's like, oh, you can do some ads and different things like that. So really early on, and why I struggled early on is because I was trying to do a little bit of everything. I'm trying to be a whole marketing agency, right? Just flat out marketing agency. We do everything. in video in house. And what I came to realize was that I was slightly good at a lot of different things and not great at anything. And I had to really reassess, rebrand. I mean, the whole website was marketing agency. At the beginning, I created my own website, and there's a lot of time put into it. And but one thing that I did do is always reassess, quarterly, annually. Okay, what's going on? How are things going? And I realized that, you know, when it came to marketing, that kind of everything's on you. If you don't educate them on, hey, $500 is a month isn't going to get you anything results in ads. So like, putting yourself in situations where their success is really going to determine whether they keep hiring you. It's a lot more to the marketing. So I realized, okay, let's step back from that piece. Let's just focus only on video. And that's when things took off. We focused only on video, and but I still had that marketing passion. And just doing through research, and I noticed like there were different video marketing agencies, and I started hearing this. It's like, hey, it's not. Yeah, you have your just digital marketing agencies, but video marketing agencies, it's really a nice kind of buzzword of companies that just really care about your results. They can offer those marketing services, but everything is video forefront. So if we're running ads, we're using video. If we're focused on your social, we're using video. So um, it's not so much that we're just so locked in on marketing, but all of our video clients, we notice that they have these marketing agency horror stories where they can't trust the agency, or we got this amazing video and their campaign and all the distribution with the video afterwards is terrible. So really just being able to earn more, learn more, outsource, and really get some people in that can do the marketing for me, you know what I mean, and just have strong portfolios. That's how we got to that transition. So me still having those calls with clients about how much I care about their business, not just a cool video, or letting them know like, hey, um, yeah, I know you say you want to spend 10,000 on this video, but what is your ad budget afterwards? And let's say like, hey, I don't mind. I want to make sure you make the money come back. Let's do your video for 5,000. Spend a little bit more on ads and come back, and we'll do 2 more, 3 more videos in the next few quarters once you scale that up. So really just building those relationships like that, and they gain that trust for where we haven't done that much marketing or just don't have a ton of case studies. The clients saw how much we cared, and it's like, okay, hey, we do feel comfortable doing this with you. And then also how I got into it too was I wasn't doing the marketing in house at first. So I was partnering with marketing agencies. It's like, hey, you know, and specifically ones that didn't offer video, it's like, hey, you guys don't offer video in house. We can help you with the video. Also, we don't offer marketing in house. Let's outsource the marketing. Let's kind of scratch each other's back that way. And that's how we're able to build up case studies and just do different things like that. So, and I got some really nice kind of at first, it's not as much, but you can't be greedy. So I would get some nice commission checks when the agency I was partnering with they were getting, okay, they're getting the retainer checks, and I would just get a couple hundred, a couple thousand here based off of those projects. So it's a great way to just get your foot in the door and then just kind of build out your marketing team to really be able to execute and just learn more. But it's definitely been nice to have multiple options and streams of like, hey, we've done some web design projects, we got social media management, we got video production, and another big piece to the video marketing is like we're not just creating one-off videos a lot of times. Like we're doing whole campaigns and just video strategies for the year, like campaign rollouts for like Powfinger. It's a forklift company. We created their whole campaign rollout for their latest forklift that just came out. So we created the intro videos, the main commercial, the product launch, and then all the promo videos after, and really just guided them. Okay, here's how we should do it. Here's the tone. Here's what we should do. Where it should be rolled out. So really just being able to be that expert on how to utilize video. That's another aspect of the video marketing agency. So yeah, I love it, to be honest. I know that was a lot, but I get passionate about it. So so yeah.
It's obvious that you're passionate about it, and what you've learned over time is that video is not necessarily or should be a transactional agreement. It should be a consultative sale. It should be developing relationships, and then over time those things become even more fruitful. So you've already given us a couple of some great nuggets of advice there. um, and I'm sure you've been asked this many times, but if you had to come up with the top 3 or the top 5 things that you would say to newcomers in video, whether they're just right out of film school or right out of college, or maybe they've been laid off and they've always had a sort of a secret passion for video production, what advice would you give them that would save them
Uh,
time and a lot of money?
Yeah, my top 5 tips is either find a mentor or a business coach. Number one, they've made the mistakes already. They put the time in, and what I do is I teach a lot of people is work on kind of hand in hand. This could be number two. Start working on your business credit so you can do things like invest in your knowledge and everything like that. Because like right now, my course is $5,000, but what I teach students is okay. Here's how you can work on your credit and get. You can get like a credit card for $5,000, and monthly, depending on your credit, that might be $100 to $200 a month. So it's going to be a lot easier, a lot softer blow. So you can get working with business coaches early on. So that might be one or two. Work with business coaches, do the work that it takes to build that foundation, learn business, everything like that. Make sure you have a strong product. Do what it takes to have a strong product, and don't be scared to do sales. Lose sleep over sales. All the different channels that you can, but that's the most important. Like word of mouth isn't going to cut it. Just posting on social isn't going to cut it. You have to actually go out and see what works, and keep that those projects coming in. So
Derek, where can our listeners find you and Hierarch online? Why don't you tell us where we can find you?
Yep. So one of the best places is LinkedIn. So Derek Pope, that's Derick, and then Pope, Pope. And then also you have Hierarch Media, which is HIGHARC Media Incorporated. There's no nugget. LinkedIn is just, you can connect with all the biggest companies in the world on LinkedIn. So it's definitely a great place to be. And same thing on Instagram. It's just that first and last name, Derek Pope, with a 2 at the end. And then Hierarch Media, just Hierarch Media. So you'll see that I tend to be kind of like a personal influencer when it comes to production and different things like that. Then Hierarch is really just like the portfolio kind of clean cut company. So I do put effort into both. But yeah, feel free to give me a follow if you got questions, anything like that. I will gladly answer those. So
Amazing. Derek Pope, founder, Hierarch Media. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. And Derek, keep crushing it out there.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.